You're at 150, 70, 80.
I'd like people to understand that when you're cheering for an athlete, you're not cheering for an athlete, you're cheering for a person. And that person has a story. That story might be related to athletics, but it's certainly much deeper than that. The struggles, the sacrifices, the trials and tribulations of being an athlete at the top are not just related to how your performance is at the gym. And in the end, there's a lot of variability in there that I don't think people understand as much as they should. We spent 3 weeks taking a trip across America, meeting up and collaborating with the best CrossFit athletes in the world. My biggest takeaway in asking the athletes what it's all for is I think that it's something that a lot of them struggle with. And a lot of them aren't quite sure what it's for, still trying to figure out what it's for, or are going through the process that maybe it becomes hard to have an identity outside of CrossFit or outside of competing. And I think people in a lot of sports fall into that category. And I hope that the conversations can maybe help them through that process of what are you doing? Because one day we're going to get hurt. One day you're not going to be able to perform like you did before, whether it's you're old or you just can't keep up with it or life commitments. And it would be really challenging if you never considered what the greater purpose is. And once you consider what the greater purpose is, your behavior starts to change. And maybe you double down on performance and your number one goal is to be remembered as the greatest CrossFitter of all time. But for a lot of people, it's not about being the best of all time. For a lot of people, it's about making an impact. It's about getting a message out. It's about helping people to be the best version of themselves, or making people healthy, or inspiring people to have better body image. Whatever it is, we just have an incredible platform. And there's an argument to say that athletes should stick to being athletes. But there's a much better argument to say that we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who listen to what we say. And if people are listening and you have nothing to say, then it's a wasted opportunity. So maybe it's something that they, down the track, is something that becomes more and more imminent to them. Maybe it's something that continues to develop, but it's certainly something that they've had to think about now.
But yeah, it was one year with them. Started pretty deep after.
Like, let's take the CrossFit games out of it and just talk about like coming to the gym and like staying healthy physically.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing that, that's gonna affect me emotionally, me mentally, me spiritually. Like all those things. Like it's about the whole for me.
You want to look forward. Beautiful.
Row strong. Good. Okay, elbows high. Keep that into your neck. Watch the log up.
I knew at a pretty young age that sports wasn't gonna be my identity. Even CrossFit's not my identity. If I feel like this is my purpose and I'm in this world to win the CrossFit games, I've already created this pressure that I put on myself to like win. And if I don't do that in my life, well then I'm useless.
You say football wasn't your identity, CrossFit's not your identity. I love that. I'm very much the same way. But then what's your internal motivator then to be the fittest in the world?
I do want to win, probably just as much as anybody else does. Competing has just been something that I just fell in love with. And so it wasn't necessarily about becoming the fittest, like you're saying. Like it wasn't necessarily about being able to fight or do whatever. It was more about like, this is good for my self-conscious.
Yeah.
You know, this is good for my mental.
I think it's funny, like I'm the same way as you are. Like, okay, I could stop tomorrow and I'm the same dude as I was yesterday.
Yeah.
But do you ever sort of think like that mentality benefits you? Where like it's not a need for you to win CrossFit games. It's just like, it would be amazing. I want to do it and I have the capacity to do it.
I feel like life is bigger than sport. Life is bigger than winning. You know, I work with a great group of people and we all make a lot of memories and we laugh a lot, as you could tell here, and life is good. But dude, the sport is like secondary to the journey that is created with the sport itself. My identity is one rooted in God. Yeah. And I'm a husband and I'm a dog dad. And one day I'll be a father. Yeah. And those things, and my friend to a bunch of people, and Those things are the things that I'm gonna build my life around.
Leaving HWPO in Vermont, I couldn't help but be impacted seeing the team, the structure, the professionalism, and the commitment to being the fittest on earth, and seeing what Jayson does on a day-to-day basis to make sure that he's ready to go. In our chat, we went over winning not necessarily being the most important thing in terms of life. And I thought we could travel to Miami and see someone who's been at it for 10 years. And what does it take psychologically to be able to have that fortitude year after year after year to be able to get out there, compete, and try to win a CrossFit Games title?
Back in 2019, that's the best I've ever finished at the CrossFit Games. I took second.
Yeah.
And that year, the lead up to the games was probably the toughest that I'd had. I didn't qualify through the open. At the other qualifiers, I did okay, but not very well. I took like third, where I prior to that had been winning competitions.
Yeah. Right.
And was just in this mindset of like, all right, maybe I'm starting to lose it. Like I can't hang with the big dogs anymore. And so by the time the games rolled around, I was of the opinion that perhaps I was getting toward the end of my career and I wanted to really enjoy it as if it were my final year, right? So stepped into 2019, fully zoomed out and just wanted to appreciate the experience, soak it all in, kind of like it was the last hurrah, and crushed it and almost won the games that year.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool for me, that realization of letting go of all that anticipation and anxiety can be very freeing and allow you to perform better. That's been a battle that I've had with myself in my head for the last at least 2 years, deciding what I want to continue to pursue, how realistic it is to pursue those things, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on that in a second.
Yeah.
And yeah, where I wanted to just draw the line, I think, because for the last decade, I've had the singular goal of trying to win the CrossFit Games. Over that course of time, I've gotten relatively close, and a lot of other cool accomplishments along the way too, like have won the Open, have won a ton of regionals events, have won semifinals, have won outside competitions. So like I've done everything but won the CrossFit Games pretty much.
Yeah.
And so that was the one thing that was driving me to kind of continue pursuing it to this magnitude, to this degree. Competing in the way that we do, you have to have that really lofty goal that you're striving for in order to push yourself as hard as we do. Otherwise, like, kind of what's the point? And so if it's not realistic that I'm going to win the CrossFit Games, but I'm training and living my life like I am going to, I'm like at odds with myself internally all the time. And so I made the conscious decision, like, I'm gonna let go of that as being my sole focus.
Yeah.
And that's gonna allow me to breathe a little easier, to put my energy into other fun, productive, positively impactful things. I'm still gonna train really hard and perform to the best of my ability, but it's not all with the intention of, hey, my only goal is to win the CrossFit Games. Coming around. You can hang out on the step. What's up, dude?
Are you someone who at times during your period of being a pro CrossFitter have identified yourself as a CrossFitter, or have you always been able to separate who you are from what you do?
I would say it's a little bit of both. That might be the easy answer,
Sure.
Right down the middle. But as much as CrossFit has shaped my lifestyle over the years, I don't want to just have that be all that I do. You know, when I try to, as much as I can, disconnect myself from CrossFit when I'm not doing it. Obviously in the gym, I'm doing CrossFit, I'm focusing on CrossFit, but when we're out to dinner with even a group of our friends who are CrossFitters, I oftentimes try to avoid that in conversations just to have the psychological balance in my life of not having that be the overwhelming thing, you know? But I would love to have a really positive impact on the world in some way. I feel like I've tried to do that through the sport of CrossFit and perhaps have had little touches and tastes of it. I don't know what it will be, but hopefully something that can make people live like happier, more fulfilled, more driven lives.
So let's just close that and go, okay, you're coming to the end of your career. Of course, your attention and status will go down the longer that you're away from the sport as a high-performing individual. What do you hope people remember you for?
You could be remembered as the nice guy, but how is that changing the world? I think if you are to reframe that perspective a little bit and say, like, I helped encourage people to be kind to other people, to realize that you can be nice and have fun and like, I don't know, positive in that way, that you can be joyful and pursue difficult things. I think that is important for me, just helping people shift their mindsets and enjoy what they do and bring joy into their lives in general. I don't know yet 100% what that looks like. I think there is an element of uncertainty there, which is both exciting and kind of nerve-wracking. I do know for certain that Joanna and I would both love to have kids, and so I think being a father, I'm newly a husband, which is really fun, but those titles are going to end up being incredibly important to me as well, which I'm really looking forward to. I don't know, I'm hoping that it's involved in the health and fitness world, but like, there's a chance that in 5 years I'm doing real estate. Like, I don't know, I totally made that up, but I just don't know exactly what the future holds, but I'm excited for it.
The chat I had with Noah resonated a lot with who I am as an athlete and how I want to live my life. Particularly the quote, "Finding joy in doing difficult things is something that I won't forget for a long time to come." We take Noah, who's towards the end of his career and thinking of taking as much joy as possible in this final year of CrossFit Games as an individual. We're gonna head over to Naples, Florida, just across the peninsula, to visit Danielle Brandon, one of the favorites to win the women's side of the CrossFit Games, who, in contrast to Noah, has quite a large crew. So I'm excited to see what is her approach and what does it take in the prep to be the fittest woman on earth.
So how old are you? 27.
I feel like the tough thing with CrossFit, like I feel like we've been talking about a lot, is we don't know the events. And you know, you're really training for like everything. And so it's like I could show up to the games thinking I'm like my most fit and the best, and like somebody else just like trained a little bit better, and like maybe the programming, like the way their training was, like they just were able to get through it better than I was. You know, like you it's like you're training throughout the season and you have nothing to like measure up against. So it's like I can think I'm really fit and then maybe show up to the games and like I am my most fit.
Yeah.
But somebody else is just like more fit that year and like better, stronger, right? You know what you're bad at, right? So you're just trying to like train to make those weaknesses like not as big weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then just hoping like whatever combo they throw at you at the games that like you're good enough to do that.
It's just funny because you do have to have an element where like you have to accept not winning because of random shit.
When I first started at CrossFit, I never was like, I want to win the CrossFit Games, which I think is like a lot of people say that, you know, like they start CrossFit, or even you'll see in a lot of like documentaries, like I show up to the games and you know, my one goal there is to win. Of course I want to win, like I want to go and I want to win.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had that mindset, then like everything would be so much about winning. Then like every event would be about winning, and like every event would be about like, oh my gosh, you know, now I'm not going to win because I did bad in this workout. Or like if I do really well, it's like, oh cool, it brings me like closer to winning. Like it's more just like taking every event one at a time and like doing the best, and having to accept that I won't always win, and so like really lose.
So it's not really about winning, which sort of nullifies the question of like, okay, well, you've got a window, and how long is that window? So let's just take that and go, who cares? How long is that window? Will you win more? Whatever. So it's not about winning. What's it about? Like you get up every day and like you train your ass off. It's not even to win. And by the way, I'm much the same. To like to a fault, online I put it out there too much, where it's like you don't even care and you've won. But like, what is it about for you?
I really do have days where I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? Right? Like
and that's a funny athlete thing as well.
Like
people think that we're just amped to go to the gym all the time.
Like they're like, how do you get motivation every day? And then I'm like, look, like there are rare days that I actually have a lot of motivation. Like it's just this like routine thing, right? I really just enjoy progress. I mean, you know, you get to like, as I'm sure like at your level and at like my level, like progress, like it's really hard to see. And when you like do see it, it's like really addicting. You're like, holy shit, like okay, like something that I worked on to get better at, and I'm already like, right, you're like already at this like what feels like this max level,
Yeah.
and you like actually get better at that thing, you're like, holy shit, like
Yeah.
it's just like addicting and like thrilling, and you're like, okay, like I can get better, like
Yeah.
these reminders of progress,
Yeah.
and it's just like fun.
I thought this would be the case, but it's becoming increasingly obvious that it doesn't take a whole lot of questioning to find out that these athletes are a lot just more than CrossFit Game champion hopefuls. Leaving Danielle, whose life seems to have been tailor-made to be a CrossFit Games champion with her athletic background and her drive to win, we go to Cookeville, Tennessee, to the legendary CrossFit Mayhem, and we visit Roman Khrennikov, who certainly has not had such a direct path to where he is today.
Сложно. Ну да, да, без жены был, да, конечно, я переехал без жены, ждал ее без жены, она родила в России без меня, то есть такой поддержки моей не было, как бы все скучали, такой сложный период как бы для нас был в нашей жизни.
I can't imagine. That would be so hard. But now everyone's here now, yeah?
Ну, потом спустя 5 месяцев она приехала ко мне, получила визу, приехала, и все, теперь мы счастливы, живем вместе. Здесь все, сын, жена, собаки, все круто.
Last year, you came second at the games, correct?
Yes.
And this year, obviously you want to improve on that. How do you deal with the pressure of being one of the favorites going into this year?
Ну да, сейчас эта тема популярна по поводу ментальности, да, все там, на всех нагрузка, никто не справляется. Для меня как бы нет никакой особо ментальной нагрузки, я делаю то, что и делал раньше, до этого, до переезда в США, до второго места в Америку, до второго места на играх, то есть как бы для меня это норма, и как бы я просто тренируюсь каждый день, прихожу. Не получилось в том году выиграть, окей, сделал работу над ошибками, просто тренируюсь, и на меня особо ментально ничего не давит. То есть нет, я вообще как бы не обращаю внимания на то, что люди думают, там, что люди подумают, то, что они скажут или говорят. То есть я просто тренируюсь, то есть и у меня нет с этим никаких проблем. Я слушаю только своих тренеров, да, кто помогает мне в тренировочном процессе, а остальное мнение мне вообще как бы без разницы. Там медиа или еще кто-то говорит. То есть как бы для меня это не важно.
Now, of course, winning the games is important, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but it's almost like this has been the most incredible way to improve the life for you and your family. Is that the primary driver of all of this and what CrossFit has given to you?
Ну, как бы я выбрал эту работу. То есть это кроссфит как бы для меня работа. Да, мне нравится заниматься кроссфитом, так сложилось, что кроссфит и мне это помогает зарабатывать деньги. То есть мое любимое дело, просто моя работа, я встаю с утра, так же, как все люди встают на работу, ухожу на работу, прихожу, ем, опять ухожу на работу, прихожу, провожу время со своей семьей. Это нормально. Просто это мое любимое дело. И мотивация – это повышение, да, как можно сказать, на работе есть повышение. И тут то же самое, выиграть соревнования, заработать деньги. То есть я понимаю, что если я сегодня плохо поработаю, это скажется на моих соревнованиях, и я не получу тот приз, о котором я мечтаю, да, о котором...
We now leave Roman for the final stop on our journey. A couple who are the darlings of CrossFit and have experienced a fair amount of success for their young age. Ellie Turner, who's just won the Australia semifinals, and Justin Mederos, who's the two-time fittest man on earth. As a champion myself, I'm looking forward to seeing how these two manage their expectations going into the 2023 CrossFit Games.
I've been with, 10 different people, something like that? No, more than that. 15 different CrossFitters who are going to the games. None of them would have done what we did last night. Context, we were out at a barbecue. I don't know, you guys left at like 11:15 or something. That is not in the playbook of what would be most conducive to performing really well. Open to both of you, why do you choose to do that stuff?
You're right. Like, that's not in the recipe for great performance. And if we did that every single day, like, you're not going to win, you know, or you're not going to perform well. And I think competing at a high level is so much mental than it is physical. I think like you go to like the gym and you see these guys, they're crazy good, but then when it comes time to like compete, they always like underperform. That's all like mental. And I don't view myself as like the physically like most gifted athlete that's out on the competition floor, and that's what like gives me that edge of everyone else that pushes me to like have really good performances. And I think it all comes down to like how I view myself in my head and how I'm able to like approach game plans and maximize my fitness in every single workout that we do.
For me, I think it's having like more things in my life other than CrossFit. Being able to like go home after a day of training and have other things to focus on other than like just dwell on a workout that you might have done that didn't go to plan, or like having a good support crew around you, like in a competition sense, where it's just like no matter what, like your best is enough, and like just knowing that those people aren't going anywhere. It's just like that's just the workout, like that's just what happens sometimes.
I hope people pull from this that the mental side of things is so important in terms of performance, and variability is almost always left down to the mental side. Before competing, my ritual every time is I'll go to a pub and drink until nothing crazy, like 10:30, 11, but go to bed late, because that way I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to have a good sleep, and then be up and ready to go for the next day. So it's funny, the things that work for you that aren't like the best actually turn out to be really good. You've both talked about things outside of CrossFit, and I mean, you've won twice, and I'm not dissimilar to you, where you sort of, obviously it's hard work, but you sort of stumbled into winning. It wasn't your life's purpose or anything.
Yeah.
Open to both of you, what is it all about? Like, what is the actual purpose? What's the greater mission behind it all?
Man, I think like I not struggle with that, but I don't really like, I think it's weird to say that I don't really have one. I do it because like I love it, and like so much of what I have right now is because of it. I wouldn't have any of these people in my life if I didn't find CrossFit. Like it's insane, and that's like so valuable for me, and that I can like kind of go out there and I feel like I'm like holding up the flag for all those people.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm out there competing.
Yeah.
And I think that just like makes me really happy.
Yeah.
That like I can somehow, I don't know why, but bring them happiness by doing what I love. And I think that's why I do it for sure, is because like for those people in the circle. Like I don't really care what everyone else thinks, but like those people are like everything.
That's amazing, because we had a conversation yesterday around like it's funny family expectations and how deep family gets into it. I've actually never thought of it as a privilege to be doing something that family can bond over.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm very similar. I've always thought and told myself, like, if I'm passionate enough about something, I'll make opportunities out of it. I don't know if I would be able to do what I do every day if I didn't have the goal of wanting to do really well. I just don't think you would do like the hard stuff, I guess, like the things that no one else wants to do. I think I'm at the point of my career where I feel like I still have a long way to go, and I'd be silly to try and like narrow that into a small aspect right now. So yeah, I'm similar to Justin in terms of like doing it because I'm passionate, and I think if I keep doing it with that same passion, it'll just create the opportunities and like things that will somehow create a life after CrossFit.
Yeah.
Between the drive of Jayson, the joy of Noah, the versatility of Danielle, the sacrifice of Roman, and the mindset of Justin and Ellie, we've seen that these athletes are ready to sacrifice anything to be the fittest on earth. In talking with them, we've seen that achieving the fittest person on earth title is at the paramount of their athletic goals. But we've also seen that their athletic goals are simply a part of their life goals. I think when anyone's watching this, what you can take away is that even at the top of the world, objective self-improvement, being able to do things you've never done before, and being a stronger, a fitter, a faster, a more flexible, a more skilled individual is simply the goal of all athletes. Becoming a champion is simply a byproduct of thriving in those variables. I hope that these athletes have not only inspired you to become a fitter, stronger person yourself, a more adherent exerciser yourself, but I hope these athletes have inspired you to become a better person. Because in the end, they're not just trying to be the fittest people on earth. They're trying to be the best people that they can be. And that's all any of us can try to do.
I'll suffer. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll win this one.